What's up, and welcome back to KindaFunny's The Last of Us HBO breakdown series. Of course, I am Tim Gettys, and I am joined by the new face of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Good morning, Tim.
And joining us as well as the Big Daddy himself, Greg Miller.
Hello, Tim. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Can't wait to talk to you guys about this episode. Honestly, one of the greatest episodes of TV I have ever laid my eyes on.
Never watched Nashville, did you?
I never
shit.
did. I never
watched
did
Riverdale.
watch. Nope. Neither of those on the list, everybody.
Talking about season 2 of The Arrow.
Oh my God! Back to the island?
Oh, yeah.
Kidding me
Oh,
right
my
now?
Lord.
We got Deathstroke. We're having a great time out here.
We are having a great time out here. And where is here, everybody? YouTube.com/KindaFunny. Every single Monday at 9 a.m. We're going to be live right here, breaking down everything we liked, everything we didn't like about each and every episode of The Last of Us. We have the first 2 episodes up. Now you can go check them out on YouTube, or you can get this as a podcast by searching your favorite podcast service for KindaFunny Screencast, and we'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free, though, you got to go to patreon.com/KindaFunny, and you won't have to listen to our ad for Grammarly, which we'll get to later. Our Patreon producers, Jay Kolbs, Nathan Lamoth, Monica Boomenlog, DJ Kento on Twitch, Trent Berry, James Hastings, Colin Huguenel, and Casey Andrew, they know all about that life, that no ad life, and we appreciate all of them so much. So you can join them on patreon.com/KindaFunny. Before we get into too deep into everything, where we go full spoilers into this, we're going to start off a little spoiler-free thoughts around the table, just in case people, for some reason, don't.
All I want to know, spoiler-free, is did you cry, Tim?
Did I cry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I cried a lot, Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I cried like probably too early.
I also cried very early, and I was not expecting it.
And it just kept going. But we'll get into that stuff in the more spoilery stuff. But spoiler-free, Greg Miller, what do you think of this episode?
I thought it was fantastic. It's one of those when we were very purposeful with The Last of Us on HBO. If we wanted to, we could have watched them. We could have done the whole get the screeners and yada yada yada. But we didn't want to take away from the weekly reactions, right? Because it's hard to why sit on things early and blah blah blah. And so you had that problem, and I think the decks or the chips stacked against this one, right? Of being like, hey, episode 3 is the best episode. It's so everybody says that long enough. You're like, all right, well, you're already setting it up to not live up to those expectations. And I think, again, us being fans of the game, we knew to an extent what we were getting from Bill and Frank, and this blew everything out of the water. Like I'm at a loss for words now to describe how good I thought that was, and what a ride that was, and how beautiful an episode it was.
Bless.
Yeah, I had the same thing while seeing people react to it from seeing the screeners and people review it, right? Episode 3 was the one that everyone would hype up. And last week, I was telling my friends, I was like, yo, episode 3 better blow me away. Because if not, like, people are building this thing up to get overhyped. And it did not get overhyped. Like, that episode was incredible. For me, it lives up to everything that I want The Last of Us as a franchise to be. And especially with this HBO series, I think it tells such a great story about what connects people and, love and all this stuff, right? And I think that's what Last of Us does best as an IP. And so, yeah, I think this is a fantastic episode. Best episode so far. And I'm sure this will go down by the end of the year as one of the best episodes of television this year.
Yeah. I mean, I already said it, but I think not even just this year, I do think of all time. This was such a special episode, and I love the way that it functions as a continuation of the story that we've been setting up already, as a continuation of the story that we've now known from the game for the last decade, but also just this functions standalone as just one piece of content in such a beautiful way that I thought they were so smart about how they had the setup in the beginning, and then even with like how the end all pays off and brings it together. This felt like a movie. And for it to be the runtime that it was, like, I just love that we're in an era that people can get weird. And HBO's always played a little fast and loose with the runtimes of its shows, especially in the HBO Max era. But I just love that you could tell from beginning to end, this was a creator's vision. And this seems like this episode in particular being written by Craig and last week's being written by Neil. I just love the effortless back and forth between their styles, and there is a cohesive vision between their visions. And I love that we get to see that for we have 6 more weeks of this. And awesome. I can't wait for all of that. But yeah,
I'm already dreading it ending though.
I know.
I'm already
Oh,
doing
yeah.
that thing where I'm like, oh man, 3. That's a third of the show gone. Shit.
yeah, but even then, like Bless was talking about wanting to rewatch last night's episode last night.
Yep. Yeah,
So
I
it's
finished
like-
the episode. I was about to go to bed, and I was like, I could go for one more watch, and I ended up not. But like, I got real close to watching it twice in one night.
Yeah, this show so far, it seems like something that I'm going to end up wanting to rewatch in the future, just like I've wanted to replay the game so many times.
Last night when I booted up HBO Max and I clicked on Last of Us, it actually resumed the episode from last week because I went back to watch part of the conversation. But you know how sometimes it buffers you back a bit, so it buffered me back just enough to watch in the very beginning the fungus doctor talk to the army guy, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this. I gotta watch this entire scene. And bum.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Tim, would you believe me if I told you that Craig Mazin also wrote the backstory episode of Mythic Quest?
Yes, I would.
And I didn't realize that until afterward, and it made so much sense because I was thinking about that episode while watching this episode. Shout out
just
Craig
beautiful.
Mazin.
He knows what he's doing.
He's got the
and
stuff.
Big Head from Silicon Valley was in that as well. So I wonder if that was the connection.
Good luck charm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good luck charm.
Yes, exactly. But yeah,
Also
anyways.
wrote Good Luck Chuck.
Oh, he wrote Good Luck Chuck.
I'm fucking.
Oh, he might have though, because Craig he did actually write Scary Movie 3
Yeah,
and 4 and Hangover and all that
We
stuff.
don't bring those up. We don't.
Not that
We just
bad.
like he came to Chernobyl in this, and just all this guy does is hit banger after banger.
banger after
He
fucking
also wrote
banger.
superhero movie, Tim, the classic.
He did. I never saw that, and I don't think I ever will. But yeah,
Even
it's-
review coward.
the flashback episode of Mythic Quest is so damn good.
Fantastic.
The backstory one, and
For a lot of
I'm
similar
right there
reasons
with
as
you.
this one.
Exactly. It's like let's just we know what we're playing with. Let's go back and make it even more poignant and powerful.
Yep.
But all right, that's enough of the spoiler-free nonsense, everybody. Let's get into it. Let's absolutely spoil this shit out of this. The most different version of the story we've seen so far from the translation from game to TV show. But Bless, kick us off with the spoiler thoughts.
God, Nick Offerman, man. Like
Yeah.
I was not expecting this performance out of him for Bill, because Bill in the game is very much just this asshole dude, right? And you read the notes about Frank, and like the way that Frank goes in the game is so different from the way that they go in the TV show. And I think taking the opportunity to go, how do we tell this story in a way that is more meaningful and more fitting to TV. We've talked about this for the last few weeks of making the smart decisions because it's not a video game. How do you tell a more worthwhile story through TV? And I think they found a really good one. I think Last of Us is such a good universe to explore because it is just, zombie apocalypse. Like we've seen these kind of worlds before, but I think the ways in which Neil and Naughty Dog and now through the HBO show, they tell stories in that world feels a bit more tailored to this kind of story where it is, hey, let's just tell a story about two people and their connection and, how they fall in love and grow old in a zombie apocalypse, which is, and I know it's not zombies, but you get where I'm going with this, which is something that I feel like we don't get that often, right? The fact that like they grew old together, right? We got to watch them fall in love together. I think that for me, that is a big part of what made this so special.
Agree.
100%. Yeah, I think it's funny you bring up it being a zombie show, right? Like we have 2 infected throughout the entire episode, neither of which are a threat, right? We have the one pinned down in the basement with Ellie, and the one who just gets blown away while Nick Offerman's eating steak, right? And that's really it. That's really the only glimpse we get into how fucked up the rest of the world is out there. And I thought that was awesome. I would want to know. You started crying early. What set you off early?
Oh, I'm very weak-willed. I mean,
No, weak will.
here's the thing.
Beautiful.
When it comes down to it, it's like I have always really deeply connected with media, and I feel like movies and TV shows and video games are made to make people feel things, and I want to feel things. I want to meet the creator there with their intent, and I often I think get overly emotional from movies and stuff because I'm like just so into what they're trying to make me feel. And that's why for the longest time I was like, I never want to get a dog because I don't want to lose a dog. And watching dog movies always is like the deepest fear of mine. And I hate it. It makes me so damn sad. And now I have 2 dogs and like we'll have to fucking deal with that. And that type of sadness, watching things like Lion King, losing parents, all that stuff, like it just, I know it affects everybody a lot. Like that's why they do it. But it really hits me. And seeing this, being next to G, I was just like, I can't do this. I can't, I knew it was going to end right here. I'm getting all choked up now thinking about it, but it's like, they did such a great job of building them up as characters. And I knew they were going to get ripped apart because I've played the game and I know, and also it's The Last of Us. I know where they're going with this, but
it's one of those things where it's like, usually there's no happy endings you think in Last of Us. And really, I think this is the happiest ending you can have.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
100%. And like that, it's so beautiful. The amount of lines and just like the script of this episode. Like we can give so much praise to the performances. They're so deserved. But the script of this episode is just top to bottom absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I was saying this in the beginning a little bit, but I just really appreciate how they used the opening scene with Joel and Ellie to set the stage. If this was the first episode you were watching, they explained the whole, like, the source of the outbreak and just a couple lines of dialogue.
I really appreciate that because that was
people up.
something I had seen in the last week of like, oh, how would this have happened then? Why would it do it? And it's so awesome to see a show anticipate that kind of stuff and have an answer for you the next week.
And it's just great that we get that stuff, and then immediately we get this montage setting up Bill's character that is essentially 5 years of Walking Dead storyline, just all thrown into a 5-minute beautiful montage. And then we get the love story that's essentially taking the beginning of Up and turning it into an hour-long perfect drama. And then it just keeps growing and keeps adding on top of it.
For me, I choked up the first time when I have it down as when Bill's voice breaks saying what, and I think it's when it starts to get explained to him that he wants them to kill him or whatever. Like he's like a what? And he choked, and then obviously the montage I cried throughout. But then when it was and you were my purpose, that's when I was sobbing, like ugly crying, and it's like obviously I'm ugly crying the way I ugly cried when Porty died, and it's like obviously the same thing of like Jen's off on a trip right now, so I'm watching Home Alone, and it's just like so much tied up, and like as soon as the episode ended, I texted Jen, she was asleep. I was just like, do not watch. I don't know how you would have a chance to watch it without our HBO, but do not watch this without me. Like you cannot watch this. You are not prepared for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's real good advice. Cause it's real heavy for me. The moment actually that broke me, and this is how weak I am, it was the piano.
Yep,
And it's the idea that in this world that focuses so much on love and these concepts, like the idea that there's not music. And like, I know that Bill specifically does have music and you can use the radio and stuff, but like,
but you know what I mean? No one's creating and sharing.
Exactly. All of that. And
also the great line of like, it's a 1948. How much is it worth? Nothing now.
Yeah. It's like, that was great. But just when they sit down and start themselves making music and then making it together, there's something so beautiful about that like that really, really, really touched me.
Yeah, for me, it was the piano scene leading into them kissing for the first time. Like, I think something just about the performance of it alone was enough to get me, because I think they did nail down the fact that, hey, it's been years in the apocalypse. Bill has been alone forever, right? Frank is a dude who is like trying to find civilization, and they're both struggling. And like to see Frank's reaction to everything, right? Bill cooking, having this nice place, having this piano, and them having this moment of getting to be what was that?
The Beaujolais.
The Beaujolais. Them having this moment of getting to be human, right? Like pre-apocalyptic human for a day, and then like having that moment together. For me, I was like, oh damn, like this is getting me right here.
Yeah, and I think even the little moments for us, like the expectations we have of these characters, and obviously they went in very, very, very similar, but then different directions. Like having the constant jumps in time, like seeing the relationship grow, but then also being able to go from like these beautiful tender moments to extremely scary, stressful moments to like just back and forth, like again effortlessly, was so impressive to me. And when we get the Bill fake out of the death,
when they came in on his eyes, I was like, no way. I literally was like, said out loud, no, to no one, no way. And then you come back in, I'm like, okay, they're like, oh, he's in a wheelchair. Oh no, Frank's in the wheelchair. Like, you know what I mean?
It's great, you know. Yeah. And it felt real. It felt grounded, like Last of Us has always really.
The only thing I didn't think felt grounded, in terms of their story, was the tower defense of like the people were attacking. Bill gets shot, and I was also. This isn't even what I'm getting at, but I thought it was interesting that Frank came out with a gun. Like, I know you want to help or whatever, but Frank also seems so caught off guard. I'm like, this many years in, I feel like Bill would have been like, listen, if anyone ever attack, you know what I mean? He would have been like, this is what's going to happen. You go here, you do this thing. But whatever, that aside, it was more when he started to operate on him, he's like, don't worry, like the fence is electrified. This is that, then it's going to be, I was like, that seems a bit simple, turnkey to get us out of this situation. I feel like those people would have been like, fucking, we're going back and we're getting more of our people if we have them. And I know there's a million things that could go a different way, but like, I feel like there would have been, and maybe there was a second attack and yada, yada, yada. It just felt, that was a little part. I was like, all right, well, okay. I feel like this should have gone a different thing.
I see what you're saying. Having said that, how fucking sick was it seeing
amazing.
the flamethrowers go off? I was like, this is like the dopest end goal to like the survivalist, like tower defense shit, like in action. I was like, this is awesome.
At what point did you guys realize that we weren't getting the build up to Joel and Ellie actually meeting Bill in current time.
When they, for me, it was when they weren't going to be period, like he was going to die or whatever.
Yeah. Well, basically, yeah.
For me, I knew it wasn't going to go the way we thought it went in the game when we got the initial Frank leaving, fuck off, and he walked out. I was like, oh shit, they're doing it. And then it was like, no, I want to decorate the town. This is my home. I live here too. I was like, oh, this is really actually sweet and beautiful. And then getting them back, that's when I was like, okay, we're going a completely different direction. And then since when we already had the attack on the compound, I was like, oh shit, so it was a great fake out trailer edit before where it's not going the way I thought it was with the sound going. And then I was like, well, why would the sound go? And then they got old and I was like, oh no, we're not getting there.
Yeah.
Like, we're just not going to get there.
I mean, with that, like, I love the story they told. I am just blown away, and I honestly can't believe that we didn't get the upside down scene.
Yeah.
Sure.
And like, I feel like we are gonna get it later. Like, I feel like you can't not adapt that moment, but
It could be a Tommy trap or something like that. Or
You're right, I guess
Fireflies.
it could be.
As we move towards the Fireflies.
Them setting up the traps as much as they did and talking about them. I was even more surprised that we didn't. I thought for sure it was gonna happen at some point in this episode, even if it was the end part. Like, when I remember, like, when we get like the death, or at least they walk upstairs and like there's a transition. It's like I paused it. I'm like, damn, we have 17 minutes left. We're still gonna get it in my mind. I was thinking, and then we didn't, which just really. I thought when Joel and Ellie came in and found it all, like something would have happened there. And I get that pacing wise, that could have been a little weird, but I'm just surprised we didn't get one of the most iconic moments.
I think you'll still get that somewhere in here. I think it's a weird shakedown, maybe. I didn't think about it in the time, but now I would go the more that I felt like Bill's traps were more defensive, and that's a more offensive, almost hunting trap, which I think would apply better to somebody who was going out and doing stuff, even if you were just hunting infected, which I get, but like maybe not.
And they've already remixed some things in the show as well, right? Like in previous episodes, we've already gotten them visiting the flooded hotel, which in the game came through later.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a smart thing to, because I don't think it would fit in this episode, just in terms of
I get it,
what the focus is.
We're definitely gonna have it later. I just think that like it's a Bill trap, and like we don't see other people use traps, right? Like in the game until 2, but.
Yeah. One of the things I do want to call out, we're talking about Joel and Ellie stuff again, how dope it was, and even for us for me as a fan of when Ellie sees the arcade cabinet, and I was like, oh, they're gonna do that, and it's actually Mortal Kombat 2. I was like, that's fucking dope. That's awesome.
So good. Like,
and then it's the same lines from the game, but it's about actually Melina rather than the made up stuff they had to do, which gets me so excited for Left Behind and what they're gonna fucking do there.
They're gonna nail it, man. And again, Bella Ramsey continues to just absolutely crush the role.
Of course.
The delivery of the
Yeah.
so damn good. And again, that was a beautiful moment of performance in a very difficult to watch scene overall, because she's reading this like extremely well written letter from Bill, right? That like we have so much emotion tied to the save test thing, like all of that just hit so hard. And seeing Pedro Pascal's performance, like just his face, just taking it all in, was like, oh man, we're going on a journey these next couple eps.
The end of the letter, not the test part, I do appreciate, especially the performance of it. Make sure and like he comes and snatches it and goes outside. I also really loved the moment in the very, 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 very beginning, right, of him doing the thing, stacking the rocks into Karen. Like, you know what I mean? Doing his, or Karen, I think it's called. I only know him from Uncharted. Kick him over, get the enchantment. But like, you know, his little memorial to Tess, right, in his own mind. Anyways, though, back to that.
I didn't realize that. I'm stupid. Yeah.
It was definitely him. I felt like saying goodbye.
Yeah. It's good.
That letter at the end, I thought it was a little ham-fisted in terms of like, in episode 3, let's tell you the journey and why things, we're spoilers, for the entire game, 2 games, why Joel's going to make the choice he makes at the end.
Yep.
And I feel they've already they did it, I forget, in episode 1, they did it earlier. There was something that was a little bit more like, whatever, about love. But this one I felt was really like, literally him telling you, do anything to protect the people you love. And it was like aimed at Tess, which was heartbreaking, but it was also like, again, knowing on the journey we're going on, I was like, all right. I get why we do this, and I get if you've never seen it before, I think it probably doesn't read as like, no, we want to justify Joel's actions and make you understand in Joel's head why he's going to do everything he does.
Yeah, I used to hate the world, and I was happy when everyone in it died, but I was wrong because there was one person in the world worth saving. I saved him, and I protected him. That's why men like you and me are here. I protected him, and something, and God help any motherfuckers that stand in our way.
Cool ending. That's a great ending. But it was very much
quote.
like protect one person, save one person. You have to save one. I'm like, I get
that's
it.
why you and me are here. We got to protect.
I get it.
I fucking loved it. Get on the nose, baby. It's fucking good. It's our boy Bill, man. He's been through some shit, Greg. He's been through some bad shit. I loved him.
He always looked good, though. Yeah, they always had such nice shirts. I was like, man, maybe I should wear more collared, like flannel shirts. These guys look great in them.
The other man What is his
Murray
name?
Bartlett.
Murray Bartlett. Oh
played
my
Frank.
damn god!
You saw him. We saw White Lotus 1, right?
Yeah, White Lotus season 1. He's fantastic in Chippendales. He's fantastic in this. He's fantastic in.
Yeah.
Give this guy every role, every award, every single everything.
Him and Offerman, I think, were
Their
such.
chemistry was fantastic.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see it develop because at first I was like, this seems jarring. Is it moving too fast or whatever? Blah blah blah. Blah. But then I think it was after their initial meeting in Love Story beginning, right? And him, I'm not a whore. I'm going to be here for a few days, yada yada. And then seeing them move on, I think I thought that was where it built for me, and I was like, damn. By the end of it, obviously sobbing and stuff like that. They were so good. Their performances were so good. And yeah, when Bill came out with the wine bottle as I moved. Maybe we should call them waddles now. You know what I mean?
Waddle.
Really, yeah.
Yo, grab a waddle on your way back. You'll know what I mean? That wine bottle. You know what I mean? I'm going to hit you up 5:30 on a Friday. Bring me that waddle.
We'll workshop.
Anyways, when he came back with the bottle already uncapped, you know what I mean? Already open, like a new bottle of wine. We've seen Bill do it twice now, right? Where he shows the bottle and then pours the bottle and does he knows how to do it. And I thought it was so cool when, Frank drank his and then Bill did the exact same thing. And he's like, there was stuff in that too. Wasn't there? Enough to kill a horse.
Yeah.
Damn, that's awesome.
Oh. Yeah, and that's another thing. We saw it coming, but it was so beautiful. It was just so damn good. Them going up into the room, the whole thing of leaving the window open, and then we get that shot.
Yeah,
and it's it's this shot. It's the fucking title screen. Yeah. I loved those little things were so fun. And all the other just gameplay nods and things, the beginning of them walking and talking about shooting and missing. And he's like, it happens more often than you think. I loved that. Them legitimately scavenging and it looking like the game. And my favorite video game cinematography thing was when the Raiders were coming and Frank's going out with the gun. He grabs the gun and the camera follows him out of the building, and it was this is a third-person action game. This is dope.
Yeah, shout out to the outfit change toward the end of the episode.
You get the shirt.
Where you get the shirt.
That was dope.
Ellie with
That
the long
was
sleeve
dope.
and the short sleeve, and then also Joel.
And it was when they went to the
costume.
truck, I'm like, here comes the blue and white truck, and they rip it off. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was the scene I pulled up on YouTube to show G, and it's damn. They just fucking one-to-one nailed the little things, which really just goes a long way to make this feel faithful.
Another thing that got me, it didn't make me cry necessarily, but did get me was when after Ellie reads the note and stops the test, and then Joel takes it and then goes outside. Him taking that moment to kind of process and kind of feel for both. It seems like he was grieving both Tess and then also Bill and Frank, right? And having it all hit him in that one moment before he has to go back and do his thing. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. Love all the continued backstory that we've gotten. I think the first 2 episodes did so great with the cold opens of giving
I
us
was
even
missing it this time.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah,
and
I
then when
wanted
I
a cold
realized
open and they jump right in. I was like, all right, cool. But then, the show itself is obviously.
Well, exactly. But even not the actual cold open of this, but right after the intro, there was the bit of them walking, and then we see all the skeletons.
Dude,
Nothing
you were in
sadder
the
than a small
sky.
skeleton. That stuff was so good, so damn great. But the transition of seeing the little kid with the clothes on and the camera going in and it going out, it being 2003, all of that
was
stuff.
Amazing.
And Joel explaining the whole thing it was Friday, September 26th. By Monday, everything was gone. Those things to me continue to just add so much more to the story. I really appreciate it.
While we're in the flashback, shout out again to the line that we already saw in the trailer, but not today, you New World Order jackboot fucks. It's so fucking good.
And the Nazi line that they have.
yeah.
They are Nazis, not then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's one the one thing I want to call out too is, even though I'm a stupid moron, I didn't see it coming when Frank was in the boutique, we're gonna have friends. I've been talking to a nice lady on the radio. I didn't expect it to be Tess. And so then to get the scene of them having a little dinner there with Tess and Joel, I thought was awesome. I thought that, I don't know which way this actually works, but the de-aging they did to them or the up-aging they've done for whatever to Pedro and I forget the woman's name. Tess and the show. Thank you very much. They looked great here and they looked young and it looked different, you know what I mean? And I liked the Frank Tess connection and then the, Bill Joel thing. And then when they left and he still got the gun, that was just overall, I thought that was such a cool thing and such a cool turn.
Yeah, the translation of Bill from game to show has been so good, just because they also kept a lot of the same assholey attitude and a lot of the funny bits of Bill, while also just injecting in so much of this oh damn, no, I kind of feel for this guy, right? And you care about the love story. The line from Frank where he's like, Arby's didn't have free lunch, it was a restaurant.
Yeah,
that one actually got a really, really good chuckle out of me as well.
And that was the thing about it, where to be in this situation, Frank was so funny and so charming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way not to like him. Even when he comes out, I loved everything. I mean, in general, just everything from Murray's performance is phenomenal, right? But even in the whole of just like, are you armed? No. Why did you wait so long?
So
I thought
good.
about lying. I could have come. I haven't eaten in 2 days. It doesn't sound that long when you say it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, damn, you want to? Yeah, I'd want to invite this guy in, even though if he's with Raiders or whatever.
Yeah, and I loved even the backstory there, talking about the Baltimore QZ going down and all that.
yeah.
It's just like, oof, it just adds that
The
extra
world.
reality to the world. Where you're like, oh, there's like so much scary shit out there.
And
So here, sorry.
I put this in a tweet last night that like I think this episode was the one for me that really drilled home the idea that I'll love for a Last of Us anthology where it is
Sure.
like just building on this world, because I love this episode with it mostly not even being Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
right? Like I'm looking forward to Joel and Ellie's story through the rest of the season.
Well, that's
through season 2.
I mean, that's a different conversation, right? We
Yeah.
should save that here for the end of the episode because I would love to know. Like they've announced since we were last live, season 2 is a go, right? So you assume that's all of part 2, and so
I
then,
don't think so.
huh? You don't think so?
We've talked about this a million times. I think season 2 is half of part 2.
Okay,
And
fair
season
enough.
3 is,
Oh, okay, cool.
and then season 4 is Last of Us Factions. It'll be more of an.
Well, see, that's where I was driving. I'm saying once they've run out of game, what do you do with The Last of Us? Because I'm sure HBO would want to keep going, and the anthology would be great. It should have been. I don't have a full one, but I'll give you this. It should have been what Fear the Walking Dead should have been. Fear the Walking Dead.
This is exactly what I was talking about.
I've pitched this a million times. Fear the Walking Dead should have been Fear the Walking Dead. I think it was LA. Fear the Walking Dead LA. Season 2 should have been Fear the Walking Dead Chicago. Fear the Walking, and it should have every season should have been we are starting the outbreak again from a different point of view, and that would have been awesome. Anthology, I do agree, would be fantastic if they were like Last of Us, whatever. Every episode's a different thing inside the world. I'd be down for that too.
And that's the interesting thing where you can go with it, because Tim says factions, which I think would be a fascinating thing. The only hang up I have with it is that I don't know what the factions narrative is going to look like because of the multiplayer. Like, of course, it's Naughty Dog. It's going to be a good story, I imagine, but I think it's going to be a different story, right? Like, I don't think we're going to have the Bill and Frank stories of the world or like the Sam and Henrys of the world, because it is multiplayer. So I feel like the story is going to be a bit more broad and lore focused of like, hey man, you got hunters over in hey man,
Michael Cera's
I'm Michael Cera. Hey man, like, you got
I'm here to walk you through the trailer.
you got hunters in New York doing a specific thing. They have a specific item we need. We need you to go there, and I'm sure they're gonna build that up to be interesting, because Naughty Dog are.
Thanks, Michael Cera's joining us, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, what's up, Michael? What's up? Oh,
God damn, that was the most awkward thing I've ever seen in my life.
But for me, the way I envision it would be more Black Mirror style, but like for the Last of Us, or
That'd be
even
awesome.
even a better example. Tim, me and you talk about Mythic Quest now, because I watched Mythic Quest over the winter break and I fucking love it. And they have each season a standalone episode that is a flashback episode that is telling a story that's within the world of the Mythic Quest. And it was, I think, announced recently that
a whole season of that. Yeah.
yeah, that they're doing a whole season of that, and I think that could work so well for the Last of Us world. If it is, hey, every episode is just about the relationship between a couple of people or a group of people and surviving and living in the Last of Us world, right? Like I think you can get original content off that way, and also not conflict with like what people come to expect in terms of how the lore matches up with the lore of the game and all that stuff, right? Like I think just doing it just telling original stories through an anthology series would get that job done.
Yeah. We're going to keep talking about this, but before we do that, let me tell you a word from our sponsor. Shout out to Grammarly for sponsoring this episode. From essays to emails, Grammarly's communication assistants can help you write with confidence. Grammarly is a must-have for every student. Best of all, it's free to download and works on all your favorite devices and apps. A ton of us here at KindaFunny have been using Grammarly for years, and Joey specifically is a huge fan. She says, and I quote, Grammarly is used with everything. Emails, tweets, even writing our weekly schedule. Sometimes my brain works faster than my fingers, and it's nice to have a second set of eyes. The free versions of Grammarly offers comprehensive writing suggestions, a tone detector, and a synonym feature, all to help you proofread your work as you write, so you can be sure it's mistake-free and polished before submitting. Grammarly Premium comes with advanced features like Clarity Full Sentence Rewrites, which flag and rephrase hard-to-read sentences. Premium even comes with plagiarism detection. From essays and projects to emails and presentations, improve your grades this semester with Grammarly. You can sign up for an account today at Grammarly.com/KindaFunny and get 20% off when you're ready to upgrade to Grammarly Premium. That's GRAMMARLY.com/KindaFunny. Grammarly.com/Kinda. So we get to the end of this episode. We get the little preview for next time on. and it's like straight the fuck up out of it.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
Like this
let's
is the
go.
thing. One of the things that had leaked, or they showed a production shot, and it was the truck through the convenience store. I'm like, oh, that's like the one thing, one for one, I think will play really well and be really cool to see.
Yeah.
Help.
You
I really hope we get he's not even hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
exactly.
didn't even hurt. I was waiting for that line.
One of the things I find most interesting about the show so far is its commitment to restraint for action.
Sure.
Where in the first episode, even like I guess the one thing that they upped the ante of was like a fucking plane crashes instead of a car crash, and it was like, oh, this shit's crazy. But then after that, it's like the amount of clickers we've seen so far, the like amount of even like human enemies that we've seen so far is so much lower than the game that obviously the gameplay has to be more fun and moment to moment engaging. But like the choices they made to limit the Robert stuff and all of that. But even with where we're at here, last week when we saw the Next Time On episode, it was action packed. It looked like there was going to be raiders left and right going to Billstown and people busting through fences and like all the shit. And turns out, oh, that was just him gathering stuff alone, like breaking down fences to get gas and stuff. And it's like, it's really clever editing to make things seem like crazier than they are. I wonder if that's going to be the case next week, because I know
feel like that's got to be the big set piece.
it's got to be a big action set piece, because that's what that is in the game of the truck fucking like going around going crazy. But like, I still wonder, is it going to be more subdued than we kind of even expect?
Well, yeah, I doubt we're going to get like the camera swings around underneath a broken piece of glass and Pedro Pascal's getting pushed down. He grabs the other guy and shoves his neck down on it. Like, I doubt we get that level of shit, but I wouldn't put it past
Maybe.
you either. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder what they do with it from a story perspective, because that's the Pittsburgh chapter in the game, and I feel like Pittsburgh didn't have that much story go on. I feel like that was a lot of just action and sneaking through and taking down enemies.
Well, it had the hotel.
It did have the hotel, which moved.
So now,
moved up.
this is probably just going to really focus on the Raiders are still there.
Exactly.
Another interesting aspect is that because Billstown is so different, and because the hotel moved up, we have not been introduced to a bloater yet, and we know from the trailers that bloaters like are a thing.
That's a good call.
Where he stomps over the side,
yeah,
or grabs over the side,
Yeah, the gym.
Yeah,
That's
that was
Pittsburgh, right?
No,
that
the
was
gym was the
Billstown
end of
before.
Billstown.
Oh, you're right.
And
Yeah,
then the hotel, that's where you go like underwater, and then there's that whole like basement where you have to play as Joel alone, and you turn on the generator, and then the bloater comes out with all the stalkers, which are super creepy in the remake. And I hope they don't go that way with the TV show, but they probably will, and I'm not looking forward to it.
I mean, how many episodes we got left now?
6.
Oh, we got 6 episodes.
We got
still?
6 episodes.
Goddamn.
Although they are not going to be as long as the first and third one.
Because I feel like there's still, for where we're at, there's still quite a bit of story left to tell. Like, they're keeping good pace going through. Like, I mentioned last week that each of the episodes seem like they're tackling a chapter, right? They're kind of going one for one. That said, they're still left behind to do. And that said, like, there's still, if you are going chapter by chapter, there's one more chapter in the game than there are episodes of the show, because the hospital is the last chapter. So I wonder if they do start, like, combining certain things so that we're getting a couple of events at the same time, as opposed to Pittsburgh just being Pittsburgh. Because I think if you do Pittsburgh just Pittsburgh, it is just going to be Joel and Ellie hiding and like maybe interfacing, having conflict with the hunters. But I wonder, maybe you throw a bloater in there. Maybe you meet Sam and Henry
I was
at the
going
end
to
of
say,
the
you
episode.
introduce Sam and Henry here.
Because they get introduced like late into Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to show them the trailer. I thought you would have done that.
Yeah,
So it could be a thing, the attack on there. Yeah, we meet them and then we roll into the next episode with them.
talking about them, watching last night's episode and how heart-wrenching it was. It's just wild to think that we got Sarah in the first episode, then we get this, and it's like, damn, we had
Tess in last episode.
Tess in last episode, and we had,
when we were off, Barrett mentioned something that Neil and Craig are saying on the podcast. I've been listening to them too on the way after home from this show, and it seems like they're very much driving home the love, and so like it was the love of Sarah, the love of Tess, the love of Bill and Frank, and so what is the love? It can't be the love of bloaters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
There we go.
So I think maybe Sam and Henry get introduced.
Levelhead and Chad mentioned something that probably won't be this next episode, but I could see it being the episode after. Is like, what do they do for Ish? Like, Levelhead says Ish flashback cold open, which I think could be a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah. It's wild how many big story beats we have left that are going to rip our hearts out. And like, I feel like what you're saying about each episode having that, it's like they have the potential to actually do that every single episode with rare wins, with rare positive, like, we got that, guys, moments. But man.
I could also see this episode just being the episode to really cement further Joel and Ellie's relationship. Like if you are just having a hey, let's let them breathe, right? Like up till now, it has been them with Tess. It has been Bill and Frank. You know, you haven't had a full episode of just Joel and Ellie and them talking and going back and forth and all this stuff.
And you
this
need
could
to
be that time.
Yeah, I really appreciated that in this episode, right? At the very beginning again, after he does a little Tess memorial, and she's like, you know, I just wanted to say, he's like, I don't want to hear your sorry. I'm not gonna fucking say I'm sorry. I'm gonna say this isn't my fault. Like, don't blame me for Tess. And he does. Pedro does that nod. I was like, that's cool as hell. And then they start like talking a bit more, right, as they go through. Like, yeah, I could see that. They do need to. We do need to see them come together, and not just be around other people.
Yeah.
You know, a path that I'm interested if they continue going down is we've seen a much more like bloodthirsty is not the right word, but the seeds of a bloodthirsty Ellie, knowing from the games where she ends up.
Like when she executes the infected in this episode?
Exactly. And it's like, you know, we see her in episode 1 where she gets activated, like they said in the post-show thing. But then to see her in episode 2 ask questions about the bloater or about the infected overall and like be really interested in all this. Have you ever killed one? Like all that. And to see her have that moment, she's like, I can fuck with this and I can have this moment. That the look on her face, I didn't expect that. Like I didn't expect them to keep going down that path of like her being in this really fucked up world and what that's doing to her. And I wonder if next episode, it being more action heavy, it being the glass shard Joel thing, like if Joel and Ellie are gonna bond through violence in a way that
she
saves him or whatever, right?
Yeah.
This could be the hey motherfucker and hit him with the brick or whatever.
I mean, I think instead of the brick, it might be the gun, right? Because she stole.
Right.
I think she busts it out and pops a cap in his head, and Joel's like, "Where the fuck did you get that?" And it turns into an argument.
Don't worry, you're with me now.
And she spins it, puts it in her pocket.
She has the revolver ocelot. Do you ever play Metal Gear? I had a friend who had a PlayStation.
Any final thoughts on episode 3 of The Last of Us?
It's gonna stay with me a long time. You know what I mean? It's gonna be one I think about a long time. I am both excited and nervous to eventually watch it with Jen when she returns.
Yeah.
Fantastic episode. I think I'm gonna watch it again at some point. Like it was only few TV episodes, at least for like this kind of serialized show, get that out of me. Usually it's Atlanta, but yeah, I think this episode for me was so good that I want to experience it again. Right? Like I think it's gonna hold up for me as one of again, like I said before, one of the best episodes of TV this year, and possibly one that I come back to years later.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite lines we didn't bring up, I don't think, was I was never afraid before you showed up.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, God damn it. Like that was another one for me. I'm like, yeah, this broke me. Like this fucking got me. Like the power of love is so powerful. And I love that they can use that in so many different ways to tell so many different types of stories. And like they said this in the little post-show breakdown, but this being just the most beautiful end. Like this is a happy ending for them.
Yeah.
They got to live their life together and all that. It's like it just is such a amazing thing to think about and realize that like no matter who you are, no matter what's going on, there is love out there, and it can turn even the worst situation ever good. And even somebody that is the type of person that Bill is in this game, in this show, even he can turn things around, and even he can find the light and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I want to throw out that also made me tear up toward the second half of the episode was them growing old together and kind of like coming to expect now the tropes of TV, especially zombie or post-apocalyptic TV, where people are dying every single episode. In my head, I was like, "There's no way both of them make it through this episode, right?" And like for a same-sex relationship, I think you're so used to the trope of somebody dying early on to motivate the other character, somebody getting fridged or whatever it is. The fact that both of them got to make it to essentially the end of their lives, right, and like do that on their own terms and like really take that situation and do that in a post-apocalypse, I think is really beautiful.
Absolutely. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. And remember, we're going to be doing this each and every week live on youtube.com/KindaFunny, 9 a.m. every Monday. I can't wait. I absolutely love it. Next week looks like it's going to be a blast. I'm sure the rest are as well. Until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.
Grab a waddle.